Years ago when Frankie, Helena's dad, could have been there. He was just the star turn. But his namesake, I believe, Francis, is in the audience. You know what? Are you teaching him to dance? I hope so. I hope so. I'm going to ask afterwards. I hope he's there. We're glad he's here tonight anyhow. And Helena's husband as well. Actually, there's a whole clan of MacArthurs out there. Is there anybody here who doesn't have a name MacArthur somewhere along the line?
No, we left the house.
Okay, so actually there's a place in the north of Skye where there's a tombstone to the last MacArthur piper. And it's really fascinating because this part of Skye, Skye is the island I come from, and there's about 3 main clans there. The Clan MacLeod had the great MacCrimmon pipers, but the Clan MacDonald's pipers were MacArthur's. And the last tombstone is there, and on it says something along the lines of, "Here lies Charles MacArthur, piper to Lord MacDonald." And then it says, "He was a gentleman," and it stops right in the middle of a sentence, and it's the only tombstone I know where the inscription isn't finished. In the middle of a word, it stops. And it's always been a great mystery, where did the MacArthur pipers go? Because there's none left in Scotland, it seems. Well, I think maybe you're looking at them. And so it's marvelous. I'm looking to take them back there. I don't say that we'll get so bold as to finish off the inscription because we don't know actually what it should say. But in any case, historic Scotland will get up in arms if we see us with the hammer and the chisel. But there's lots of stories surrounding every aspect of life. And it wasn't just all the singing, dancing, music and so forth that made life as colourful and as interesting. But I do remember one day Alan MacArthur said to me, but you know, he said, he told me you got electricity in 1962 and maybe the next year, he said, but when television came in the front door, he said, the stories went out the back. And there's a lot of truth in that. But one of the stories that he told was a story that he'd heard from his mother and his grandmother. And of course they had brought it with them. And it was a story which he called O'r the Nord. Now that means the Cave of Gold. Quite an alluring title. He said there's a cave in Scotland, and he described this cave. And by the way, when they see it, and they will have already seen it in their minds. This cave is about 7 miles deep, and it's very mysterious. And with a wonderful name like that, it makes people wonder, well, what's in there? And for a long, long time, it was usually young boys, they would go in there and they would explore. But of course, anything that's that deep is bound to be a little perilous. We don't know what's in it. And every now and again, a tragedy would strike. One of them wouldn't come out. He'd be lost forever, it seemed. And of course, there would be great sadness. They would be told again and again and again, don't go into the Cave of Gold. But did that do any good? No more then than it does now to tell young folk, don't be doing this and don't be doing that. They're going to do it anyway, because danger is what happens to other people. But one day, the great MacCrimmon piper said, if I go into that cave playing my bagpipes, you will hear what's happening, because as long as you can hear the pipes being played in the cave, then you'll know that I'm safe. And my music will tell you what it's like in here. And on this fine day, everybody gathered around the mouth of the cave. And nobody seemed to think it was a bad idea that the greatest piper on that part of the island would be going into a cave, that cave of all. So in he went, playing his pipes, and people were quite happy all around. And suddenly, though, the music changed, and they heard a tune that nobody had ever heard before. So they listened intensely, and by listening to the rhythm of the notes, they could tell what he was telling them. And they could hear him playing a tune that said, if only I had 3 hands 2 for the pipes and 1 for the sword, 2 for the pipes and 1 for the sword. There is a green fairy monster dog attacking me here. But I will come from the cave of gold. I'll come out of the cave of gold, but only when the little kid is a mountain goat. I'll come when the little foal is a pack saddle horse. I'll come from the cave of gold when the calf is a milk cow. I'll come from the cave of gold when the babe at the breast is a war hero. So the time was getting longer between each of these spans. And then all of a sudden, the music stopped, and they waited. But they never saw him again, and nobody who was waiting for him ever lived long enough to see him come from the cave of gold, but they all believed that he would. And there was a song about it, and Alan said, you know, my mother had a song about this, but he had one regret, that he didn't learn the song. And that he couldn't say about many, because he had a lot of songs. So I thought, well, when I go back to Scotland, I'll find the song. And sure enough, there it was, in the recesses of somebody else's memory. So I'm going to sing it for you, and you understand every single word of it, because I've just told you the story, which is precisely what the song tells you. It's not quite as long as a story. So this is how we kept it. And you'll hear the pipes, you'll hear the imitation, and you'll hear a little bit about the cave in this song. If only I had 3 hands, 2 for the pipes and 1 for the sword.
Edrin